Good morning. The legislature is back from recess on the matter of bill number 21-38 COR. Gentlelady from Pago Bay, ranking member, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And before I literally talk about this bill 21-38, I guess I need to move it to the third reading because I'd like to make a notwithstanding motion to delete section 3, Mr. Speaker. So can you allow me to do that? But I'll read everything into the record. So, Mr. Speaker, Manana Situas, to our listening audience, to you and our colleagues, thank you for giving me this opportunity to move bill number 21-38 COR.
Ma'am, before you start, you want to go in motion to move it to third, and we'd like to discuss it?
Yeah. So I'm going to read.
Notwithstanding the rules.
Yeah, I said notwithstanding the rules. As amended by the Committee on Health and Veterans Affairs, as introduced by Tina Rose Muñoz Barnes, which is an act to transfer lot number 2417-1-R7, Municipality of Manila, formerly known as the Services Central Headquarters, from the Department of Public Health and Social Services to the Guam Community College for the construction of the nursing annex, to the third reading. And before I do the opening, I'd like to move to delete section 3, which is the appropriation of the bill.
First, we can proceed, okay?
I can proceed. So on that, Mr. Speaker.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker, point of order. Can we just confirm she didn't say as amended by the committee? So is
She did say that.
I did say it. I read the whole thing as amended by the committee.
She did say it.
I heard as introduced.
Yeah, no,
all right,
thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Calm down.
Maybe I'll speak a little bit slower, but at this time, Mr. Speaker, put forward, just before I do my opening, I'd like to move at this time to delete section 3, which is the appropriation component, and I like to save a tree and not have to write it out. It's just to delete section 3, which is the appropriation of the $350,000. I did confirm and talk to both Public Health and GCC, Guam Community College President Mary Okada, and she is aware of the situation and said we still can proceed if this legislation goes through with the plans they have for this annex.
Okay, on the motion to delete on page 3, lines 3 to 6, section 3, appropriations. Okay, that's the motion. Anybody wishing to speak on it? No one? Any objections to the deletion?
Yeah.
Ma'am, you have the objection to the deletion?
No, I support the motion to delete it because I think it's a waste of money to put any more money towards a design when the governor's already put $1 million in ARP funds to DPW, and they're in the middle of a contract to come up with a design for this project for the Department of Public Health.
Okay. On that motion, no objections. So ordered. We're going to take a brief recess first, ma'am, so that we can lift the podiums. Okay? Thank you. We're on recess. Legislature is back from recess. Ranking member, you have the floor, ma'am.
Sijus Masi, Mr. Speaker, and again, Manana Sijus to everyone listening. Mr. Speaker, this measure addresses one of the most pressing needs, the shortage of qualified nurses and allied health professionals, by providing Guam Community College with the property needed to expand its programs and to work with the Department of Public Health and Social Services. Colleagues, we all know our island faces a critical nursing shortage, and the demand for healthcare professionals is only growing. Guam Community College has stepped up to the plate, ready and willing to meet this challenge, but they simply do not have the fiscal space to grow at this time. While Department of Public Health and Social Services has been crucial to providing clinical training and internship opportunities for UOG and GCC students, Mr. Speaker, we need to grow. We need to widen our pipeline. We need to cast a broader net to capture more talent. The more healthcare professionals that we can develop today, the healthier our island will be for generations. We should not sit idle or be simply satisfied with our current capacity of healthcare education and opportunities here on our island of Guam. When there's an opportunity to create more healthcare professionals, we follow through. I think we all agree that more healthcare professionals is real good. This measure repurposes the former Department of Public Health and Social Services headquarters in Mingilao, an unused property since 2019 after an electrical fire, and it turns it into a nursing annex instead of letting this government asset deteriorate. And we are giving it new life as a center for education, as a center for training, and as a center ultimately to care for our people of Guam. Bill 21-38, as amended, provides a win-win solution by repurposing the old Department of Public Health and Social Services headquarters in Mingilao into a nursing annex. The Department of Public Health and Social Services headquarters has stood vacant since 2019, and instead of letting this government asset deteriorate, we are giving it new life as a center for education training. Placing the
Let's take a moment's recess so that we can reset the... let's take a moment's recess. The legislature is back from recess. You can proceed. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to share that placing this property under the Guam Community College also strengthens their ability to secure external funding. Grantors and partners want to see that an institution has long-term vested commitment to its programs. By placing jurisdiction with GCC, we send a clear message that this property will be a permanent home for nursing and allied health education. And the Guam Community College has more than proven its ability to deliver. They have leveraged federal grants, public-private partnerships, and capital improvement funds to expand and modernize their campus. Their track record of success is one of the strongest, Mr. Speaker, within our government of Guam. We can be confident that Guam Community College will not let this asset sit idle, but will transform it into a facility that draws investment and produces results. I do also want to thank good Chair on Health, Mr. Speaker, for her work in strengthening this bill. And through the amendments, we now require that the Guam Community College and the Department of Public Health and Social Services to finalize a memorandum of agreement for a shared use of the site before any grant applications are made. This ensures true coordination, not competition, and a truly collaborative approach to improving healthcare services on Guam. Mr. Speaker, as you know, I've pushed forward this bill in previous legislatures, and it was disappointing to see attempts to derail this measure by the introduction of a nearly copy and paste version of the bill. But I have been very consistent and firm about my commitment toward workforce development, especially as it relates to health care. Mr. Speaker, I know what it means when our island does not have enough health care professionals, and I know very well the heartbreak of watching loved ones leave their home just to receive the care they need to survive. That is why I stand firmly behind this bill, and the only motive here is to ensure that our people have access to health care they deserve. Colleagues, Bill 21-38 as amended is about seeing beyond silos and working together as one government to meet the ever-changing and dynamic needs of our people. And before I close, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that everywhere around the nation and other countries around the world have done similar programs to this effect, where university, community college come together and work with healthcare professionals so we can train and educate and work side by side by our government agency, public health, to train our nurses and to be able to work together as one team Guam, as one team government. So, Mr. Speaker, I humbly ask for the support in passing this bill so we can finally see this nursing annex take shape, and in doing so, strengthen Guam's healthcare system for generations to come. And as I noted earlier, Mr. Speaker, about training and educating our own people, we've seen the successes of the Professional Student Exchange Program, working closely with the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education. For those that don't know, because we are involved in this program, which is a government and nonprofit collaboration, we on the island of Guam have seen $2 million in savings and over 100 students going to colleges in the West Coast. But guess what? Coming back home. But this opportunity that we have before us will give the Guam Community College and Public Health the relationship to work together to continue to train our own nurses, bring the expertise of the nurse care profession to the upfront, because around the world there is a shortage of nurses. And according to the president of GCC, that is one of the most critical professions that are needed, not just within our island, but around the world. So, Mr. Speaker, I humbly ask that my colleagues look at this measure as a way not to just educate, train, and build upon, but bringing agencies together, public health and the community college, for the expertise that they do and for the funding resources to think outside the box and look at resources that are already out there, because we can already get a shovel-ready project going. And the opportunity, it was sad that this building had an electrical fire, and then we had COVID, and then we had Mauer, and then we had 4 bills come to play, and still nothing, because these similar measures were not taken out of committee. But I'm asking my colleagues to please find it in their heart so that we can train and educate our people here on Guam and bring the availability of having new nurses from Guam to work here, stay here, and treat all our medical patients here, Mr. Speaker. So, Ndangkulo na si Zeus Maasi for giving me the opportunity to speak on this measure that has been on this body 4 different times. I'm hoping that this measure can go through and the governor can see the realization and pass it into law so that our people can get the training and our nurses can get the training here, because we do have a long list of those who want to go into the nursing arena, to the nursing profession, and they want to be able to stay here on Guam. Situs Masi for giving me the opportunity to speak and ask my colleagues to support the measure. Sana Masi.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the bill, Bill number 21-38 COR as amended by the committee and further amended on the floor. On the bill, are there any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? On the bill. No other senators? Gentleman from Talofofo, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to offer comments on Bill 21. Again, as we spoke yesterday, involves the same Department of Public Health and Social Services property identified in a similar bill that, again, we discussed a bit earlier in our session yesterday. And again, transferring the public health property in Manilao to the Guam Community College for the construction of a nursing annex. Now, Mr. Speaker, this amended version has a provision that I gotta say that I really think is a good idea. A mutual planning and agreement provision requiring that prior to applying for financing or grant funding, GCC shall be required to finalize plans for mutual use of the Manila property, including but not limited to shared clinical spaces and administrative offices with public health, as the good author mentioned. Again, also exciting as the plans that will be formalized through an MOA between GCC and public health prior to any application or financing or grant funding by GCC. Mr. Speaker, I believe this is a common sense policy and a responsible approach to finally prioritizing the use of the public health property in Manilao, which has sat idle, as I mentioned yesterday in our session, since 2019, 6 years ago. Again, this bill prioritizes action over procrastination and provides a real opportunity to explore the possibility of redirecting a portion or all of its annual rent budget as debt service for an improved central public health facility in partnership with our Guam Community College in a way that is being done all over America. Mr. Speaker, as you recall from our discussion during the budget hearing for public health, the agency's FY 2026 budget had included a request for $2,689,535, or $468,039 more than their allocation in FY 2025. Obviously, much more than their approved budget just 2 years ago. With the passage of Bill 21, we can and will be one step closer to discontinuing this government's practice of renting private buildings by applying precious taxpayer dollars as debt service for government-owned and operated facilities moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to register my support for Bill 21, and I thank Senator Tina Muñoz-Barnes for not giving up on this effort she and other senators initially advocated for during the 36th and the 37th Guam legislatures, the 38th. It's time to get this bill done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You're very welcome. On the bill, is there any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? Gentlelady from Tamuning, ma'am, you are recognized. Use your microphone.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, colleagues. Mr. Speaker, before I begin, I'd like to read a testimony that was provided by not only our constituents, who we serve, but also an employee of the Department of Public Health and Social Services. Testimony came from Annette Uggan. Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Annette Uggan, and I'm from the village of Jotnya. And I'm here speaking as a resident and citizen of Guam. Hafaday, Madam Vice Speaker, and members of the Guam Legislature. I'm here as a daughter of Guam, a citizen who happens to be a public health employee for my entire public service over 28 years. I took leave this morning to share my firsthand knowledge and experience of why the Central Public Health Facility is needed, and not just for public health employees, but more importantly, for our high-risk, underserved clients. I take a risk today. I was in a dilemma to appear to share why I do not support Bill 221-33, which is 27, which is similar to Bill 12. I mean, Bill 20, what number are we on? 121. Right, thank you, 121. The bill that we are debating on this morning, as it currently written, but if I don't speak up, then who will? To be clear, I fully support and advocate for working collaboratively for improving healthcare and build up Guam's healthcare and allied health workers. For over 15 years in my previous role as an immunization program manager and in my current role as the Bureau of Communication Disease Control Administration, I collaborated with GCC Allied Health so that their medical assistant students can do their clinical rotations for their administrative hours. Within the various programs under my management, I have and will continue to advocate for the creation of medical assistant positions in the government of Guam, which we have been trying for more than 10 years. I also need to clarify and remind everyone that the Central Public Health is not a community health center, as acting director already stated. It is not like in Alahan or Dedido. The Manila Public Health Clinic was more of a specialized clinic for communicable diseases such as tuberculosis, Hansen's disease, which public health is mandated to manage, control, and prevent. The public health clinic has also provided maternal and child health clinics, in walk-in clinics, SE-HIV counseling and screening, x-ray lab, and dental services, all at no cost to our underserved clients. The Manila facility also housed the Office of Vital Statistics, Non-Communicable Diseases, Medicaid, MIP, and SNAP or food stamp. It was one-stop shop in one building, one village. Now our clinic program and services are scattered across the island. As an employee, it is disheartening to see and hear clients' anger and frustration frustrations to now have to drive to multiple villages and buildings for their services. I'm happy and excited to hear that the testimony provided by President Okada, that this is something we look forward to and I support. It's all about collaborating partners because, again, as I always said through my public health career, public health cannot do it alone. And it goes on, Mr. Speaker, for the sake of time. It goes on to talk about there should, be some type of collaboration. But we can't forget what we're doing today is giving services that we provide for those who cannot afford it. A community that is underserved. That's what we're doing today. We're giving it to GCC so that we can educate more people to be nurses. There's not enough over at UOG, so now we're going to GCC. There's not enough at GIC building, where they also train public health assistants for nurses. We're doing that, but we're forgetting to treat the people, those who cannot afford to go to private hospitals. More importantly, Mr. Speaker, one of the major costs at Guam Memorial Hospital is that people walk into the emergency room and it costs 3 times more to be seen there if they're coming in for like fevers or a cold, or just they can't get seen by a private clinic. So they go to the Guam Memorial Hospital. And that charge is so astronomical when it's easier to go to public health. You know, I had many questions to ask the panel if we went into the committee of the whole to discuss where this funding is going to come from, how much money was spent, and more importantly, to ask the president, Okada, does she have a guarantee of getting this grant to get the money to build the hospital? You know, I was trying to get a hold of her this morning, and she said she's trying to do her best. She's going to DC because we all know that there's major cuts in the federal administration. So my concern too, Mr. Speaker, is in the bill, this particular bill, it says, and I have a question to the author of this bill, she should yield. In the section of section 6, it says issuance of certificate of title. The Department of Land Management shall issue a certificate of title, and it goes all the way down to GCC as the owner in fee simple so long as a lot is used to construct a nursing annex as location for GCC nursing and allied health education programs. But it doesn't say any, and then it goes first shall automatically revert to the government this covenant contains her. Okay, so it does not talk about anything on public services like SNAP programs, like maternal education for mothers, for children, for dentistry, what used to be housed at the public health in Manila. So my question is, would this make a bearing on the title? And should there an amendment be made? I would like to make an amendment to include those services that were provided at public health if the intention is to collaborate with public health and actually have them. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the idea was to have the first floor of public health, if they build this, to be all clinical services provided to the public, SNAP program recipients to be able to go there, and then on the second floor would be the school. So if this title is just for that, is it going to make a bearing, and would we need to make it an amendment? That's my question, Mr. Speaker, if she should yield.
Would the author yield to the question? Use your mic. Use your mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will yield. That's why, Mr. Speaker, if you look at Section 4 of the bill, it talks about a mutual planning and agreement, like my good colleague from Talafofu spoke about, that prior to GCC applying for financing or grant funding related to this act, it shall finalize plans for the mutual use of the site with the Department of Public Health and Social Services, including but not limited to shared clinical spaces and administrative offices. These plans shall be formalized through a memorandum of agreement between GCC and Department of Public Health and Social Services prior to any application for financing or grant funding by the Guam Community College. And to note, Mr. Speaker, to add one step further, that in order for the Guam Community College to work on a concept of refurbishing and renovating and building the annex, the nursing annex, it needs to have ownership. And that's the only reason we were getting creative to step outside the box to make sure that an opportunity is there for GCC to work closely with public health, but more importantly, that the mutual planning and agreement between the Guam Community College and the Department of Public Health and Social Services are intact. So that is my question. That is my answer, Mr. Speaker.
Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Well, yes, I did read Section 4. I do understand the agreement that will go into it. But if you're putting this into a title, certificate of title, it's like anything. If I go to Rev and Tax and say that I have a business license that says I am a retailer, then all of a sudden I start doing business as service provider or a real estate agent, I mean, that's a little bit different. And the title would have to indicate that. So I'm going to seek legal to make sure, if I can take a minute break on this to find out if it needs to be done. If I could take a minute break, because if it is, I'd like to proffer an amendment.
Okay, let's take a minute.
And Mr. Speaker, just to FYI, if that's the case, then why do they indicate the certificate of title if you're putting all the stuff that GCC does?
Let's go ahead and take a break so
Okay,
you can
thanks.
talk. We're on recess. Legislation back from recess. Senator Tidigo, you still have the floor, ma'am? You can use the mic. I mean, the
Okay, we're back on. I thought we were back on regular mics.
we are, because I'm using my regular
Okay.
mic. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for allowing me an opportunity to not only speak with legal about but also the author of the legislation to understand my intention here, and that is to, ensure the collaboration, ensure that GCC works with public health in order to provide both kind of, not just a service, but an education program as well as, services to our community, the underserved. So what I'd like to do at this point, Mr. Speaker, without having an amendment put out, is just simple. And if my colleagues can follow along on Section 6, it reads, issuance of certificate of title. The Department of Land Management shall issue a certificate of title for lot 2417-1R7 in the name of the Guam Community College as owner in fee and simple, period. Then you strike out, so long as the lot is used to construct a nursing annex as the location for GCC nursing and other allied health board education. You strike that out, okay, all the way through there. And then you continue. If the use of the lot number 24171R7 is consistent with the purpose stated in, and then strike out Section 1. Because now we're limited in this legislation to only, complying to Section 1, when we need to comply to, as the author of the legislation mentioned, Section 4, the importance of a MOU between two agencies. So striking out Section 1 of, and then just put this act, then lot number 241 shall automatically revert to the government of Guam. These covenants shall be contained in any certificate of title deed issued by DLML or GCC under this act. And it was mentioned earlier my concern about having this incorporated in there. So that's my amendment.
Okay, colleagues, you're following. Proposed amendment starts in page 3, line 25. After the word simple, there's a period, and then you delete so long as the lot is used to construct a nursing annex as the location for the GCC's nursing and other allied health and education programs. Are there any discussions? I'm going to bifurcate this, okay? No objection? So ordered. The second one is found on page 4, line 1. It says, inconsistent with the purpose stated in, and you're going to strike out Section 1 of. Okay? You're just going to strike out, so it's going to read inconsistent with the purposes stated in this act. Okay? Any discussion? No objection? So ordered. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our regular mics are on, and to give me enough time to say thank you for the opportunity to speak on this measure.
Thank you very much. On the bill as amended, are there any individuals willing to speak on the bill as amended? No individuals? Ma'am, from Pago Bay, you are recognized.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I respectfully ask that you support Bill 21-38 as amended and further amended on this floor. At its heart, colleagues, this bill is about creating more healthcare professionals for our island of Guam. And by giving our community college, our Guam Community College, jurisdiction over this property, we empower them to leverage funding and partnerships that will expand nursing and allied health programs and grow the healthcare workforce for our people that our people so urgently need. And yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to quote that this building holds memories. It was once the heart of public health on Guam, where families turned for care and where the public servants gave their lives in service. Let's honor that legacy by not letting this building deteriorate further and allow it to continue serving the health of our island. this time by educating the next generation of nurses, paramedics, and allied health professionals who will carry that mission forward. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, every new nurse, every new paramedic, and every new technician that comes through this annex is another step toward a stronger, healthier, and better Guam. So, Mr. Speaker, before I close, I'd like to put some sponsors on who'd like to be on. I know that our oversight chair on health has did a lot of good work for this. I'd like to add her, Senator Sean Gumatautau, Senator Joe San Augustine, Vice Speaker Ada, Senator Duenas, and yourself, brother, and anybody else who wants to be. I'm looking to see if anybody else wants to be. Senator Vince, anybody else? Senator Therese, onto the, and Senator Shelley onto the co-sponsorship, and Senator Tello, who shared that, oh, Senator Lahan also. Thank you for that, and they also want to be co-sponsors, and ask them, I hope that we can support that as them being co-sponsors.
On the motion to add senators as co-sponsors,
No,
are there any objections?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, no, I'd like to speak on the motion.
we already closed. You already had your time.
On the motion.
On the motion to speak on the sponsorship?
Yes.
I know.
You're going to keep it
Yes,
germane to
because
the
I wasn't
sponsorship?
recognized to speak on the bill. I'm going to speak on the sponsorship, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, if you're going to speak on the sponsorship,
Yes.
I'll give you the opportunity.
Thank
But
you.
if you're going to speak on the bill, ma'am, I give that opportunity.
It's a motion,
has
Mr.
gone.
Speaker.
It is a
I wasn't
motion,
recognized,
and I'm going to
yes.
keep within the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, you can speak on the motion on the
Thank you.
sponsorship.
Yes, and I'm rising to clarify why I am not a sponsor of this bill, why I'm not supporting this bill, and that I have nothing but kudos for the Guam Community College, Dr. Okada and her team, President Okada, for all the work that they've done there in building our workforce and continuing to find ways to do that. And I completely agree with the sponsor that we need to increase healthcare students and graduates. I completely agree, and that's why we completely support putting in funds, the manpower development funds to GCC, appropriations to GCC and UOG for these types of training and scholarships as well. And that's why we allow GMH and public health to
Ma'am,
train these nurses.
Keep your
Yes.
motion.
It's exactly what I'm talking about, Mr. Speaker.
You know, this is not, the motion was on sponsorship.
It is. That's why I'm talking about the sponsorship, Mr. Speaker.
Do you agree or not disagree with the
Mr. Speaker,
sponsorship?
I have 8 minutes to speak
No,
on
you
this.
do not have 8 minutes to go ahead and pontificate about what you want, what you didn't want in the bill. The motion was on sponsorship.
Yes, and I'm talking about that. Mr. Speaker, absolutely, it's debatable. And I'm talking about why I'm asking, or I am not in support of the bill, why I'm not going to be a sponsor on this bill.
Mr.
despite
Speaker,
the efforts
a
of the...
point of order, Mr. Speaker, if I may. I'd like to call, because I truly believe that sponsorship was a procedural motion and that it's not debatable. And in that case, you're giving an opportunity for a colleague to pontificate on reasons why that she
Debate
should have
is not
spoke on the main motion,
pontification,
Mr.
Mr.
Speaker.
Speaker.
So I'm asking that we clarify with legal if this motion is debatable or not on why she should speak on why she doesn't want to be a sponsor.
Point of
Because the main
personal
question was
privilege,
already on
Mr.
the floor,
Speaker.
Mr.
We'll
Speaker.
take a moment's recess. Legislature is back from recess. Senator Talai, you still have the floor, ma'am.
Senator Massey, and again, explaining why I'm not going to co-sponsor this bill, although from all the arguments made, it sounds great that we are going to empower GCC to do something more, to expand healthcare, education, build a daycare, and everything else they want to do with additional property. And I have no objection to them getting additional property, no objection to them expanding healthcare, and I support all of our government support of those programs and scholarships to expand healthcare. What I don't agree with in the bill is that it says that we are going to give them the land that public health has said they are going to use for their clinic. That they are
Mr.
undergoing
Speaker, on a
$1
motion, on
million, a $1 million.
on a point of order, Mr. Speaker, if I may.
What's your point of order, ma'am?
I'm going to move to withdraw my motion to accept the
She
sponsorship
doesn't have
members.
the floor right now, Mr. Speaker. I do.
That's a
She can do that
notwithstanding
when it's her
provision.
turn.
It's a notwithstanding provision
No, it's
to
not.
remove the sponsors.
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
I have the floor, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very
She
much.
can
So
do-
noted. Ma'am,
Senator
continue.
Massey. Yes, and so I object that GCC needs us to transfer the land for public health, the clinic for public health, to them in order for them to do any of these things, to expand their campus or to build the nursing program. We have criticized the governor for shutting down this clinic on the pretense of electrical fire when the insurance company showed us there was no damage. And they did no assessment for 5 years. That's what the legislature's been pointing out for 5 years, that we need a clinic. That's what the nurses came in to tell us. Open back the clinic. Give us back our home. We need it. We were efficient there. We want to bring these mothers and children back to the building in Manila. They said they have no problem working with GCC and UOG and all nursing students, that they continue to do that. And there's no reason public health can't work with GCC to get grants if public health can't get it. Again, public health is probably the #1 grant recipient on Guam right now. But the building is being assessed. DPW is in the middle of a $1 million contract that the governor finally gave $1 million of ARP money to proceed. This is something we've been asking, why are you not moving on? And she finally moved on it. And now it's going to be us, the legislature, to stop them. They're going to come up at the end of the $1 million contract, which should be February, with plans for construction. Plans for construction. This is the time for GCC to work with public health to get the 2 classrooms that they want to expand, to be built into that building if possible. But this is the time for public health to move forward and for us as a legislature to not impede that. When we finally have dedicated ARP money, finally, to something concrete, reopening a clinic that everyone agrees is critical to the health care of the people of Guam, critical to keeping them out of Guam Memorial Hospital, critical. I can't see why anyone in this legislature is going to delay that when we have plans coming out in February and we can proceed with construction. This is like, I don't even understand. I think the majority changed because people were critical of the governor for not dedicating ARP funds. But now that she has for public health, and we have an opportunity to move the veterans into the building that they were promised to move in as well, we're going to block that because we want to do some other kinds of favors. Those are not as critical. Those are important, but I have full faith that Dr. Okada is going to find a way, or the next leadership will find a way. But we do not have full faith that public health is going to move into this clinic if we give them any type of impediment not to. That's what I'm pleading for. And yes, I'm passionate because I sat through people dying at GMH from lack of
immediate care. They need preventative care. This is what the public health clinic does, preventative care. This bill says they can enter into an MOA with public health for certain purposes, but it does not, like Bill 12, mandate that the clinic is going to reopen. The public health is going to restore its services in Mangilao. It doesn't mandate that they own the property that the plans are being built for. What kind of waste of money are we going to be party to? $1 million of ARP? Are we going to dream that they're going to open public health clinics somewhere else in Mangilao after 6 years? I don't agree that that's responsible. So like I said, I fully support GCC, Dr. Okada, their team. But this bill takes this property away from the healthcare system, away from building up the clinic that the nurses pleaded with us at threat of being fired for not following their bosses and actually saying, no, decrease by 49% of visitors to the clinic when they were put together up there in Dedido with the Community Health Center. So I asked my colleagues, you want to criticize the governor for the lack of support she's given to public health and GMH. I'm very critical of that as well. But why in the world are you going to put yourselves in the middle now of public health returning to its home, the veterans getting their building? Put yourselves between mothers and children getting the care that they need. Why? Why delay that for 6 years? That doesn't make any sense. And this bill does not protect, it does not mandate public health functions going to be primary. It actually mandates GCC and its board of trustees and its mission to expand its nursing program. That's going to be first. But like I said, we don't need to give the entire Mangilao property to do that at this time today when we need to open the clinic. So with all due respect, I thank the sponsor of the bill for including me as a sponsor, but I'd like to decline that. And those are my reasons. So, Jesus Masi, Mr. Speaker.
On the motion, let's take a recess first. Okay? 1 minute recess. Can I see the sponsor of the 1 minute recess? Legislature's back from recess. Ranking member from Pago Bay, ma'am, you want to renew your, okay? So with the request that the gentle lady from Jonia be removed. Okay. So in as far as the co-sponsors for the bill, okay, it is myself, Senator Jesse Lohan, Senator Chris Dueñas, Senator Shelley Cabo, Senator Vince Borja, Vice Speaker Tony Addis, Senator Sabrina Salas Matanani, I almost said Tyron, Senator Sean Gumatauto, Senator Joe San Augustine. Okay, that's it.
Oh, Will Parkinson.
And Senator Will Parkinson. On that motion, are there any objections? No objections, so ordered.
On the motion, Mr. Speaker, to place Bill 21-38 COR as amended and further amended on the floor to the third reading voting file.
On the motion, are there any objections? There is an objection. All those in favor of removing Bill 21-38 COR as amended by the committee and further amended on the floor. Okay, can I see your hands? All those in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is Bill 51-38 COR. Senator Gumatauta, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to place Bill number 51-38 COR as amended by the Committee on Land, Environment, Housing, Agriculture, Parks, and Infrastructure, and further amended by the Committee on Rules on the third reading file, and request to speak on the bill titled An Act to Amend Section 2 of Public Law 34-61 relative to transferring the title of ownership of lot number 7054-1, Municipality of Jigo, from the Chamorro Land Trust Commission to the Guam Police Department.
You can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to present to our branch this important public policy, one that perhaps could not have come at a better time. There's no question that an effective law enforcement agency evolves to meet the needs and demands of the community that it serves. Many police agencies are housed in facilities that, while built for long-term service, have become inadequate for actual departmental functions. That is where our Guam Police Department is right now in 2025 in service to the people of Northern Guam. We heard it in the public hearing from GPD, but we also heard it from the biggest stakeholder for this policy, the people of the municipality of Jigo. Why is Bill 51-38 so important? GPD Chief Stephen Ignacio said during the bill's public hearing on May 22nd, quote, Jigo's strategic location near Anderson Air Force Base and Camp Bloss makes it a critical area for both national defense and public safety. With over 1,548 military personnel stationed on and off base and 1,300 dependents, population growth is driving up demand for law enforcement. Add to that over 400 construction workers expected annually through 2035 to support defense infrastructure projects. It's clear that call volume, traffic incidents, and patrol needs will continue to rise, close quote. In that same hearing, Mr. Speaker, the mayor of Jigo, Francis Lozama, said this, quote, as the second most populated village with continued growth, establishing a Jigo Precinct Command is a significant step forward. It will help deter criminal activity and enable law enforcement to proactively serve our Jigo community. However, police presence alone isn't enough. We as residents must also be vigilant and united in our efforts. Close quote. A united Jigo Municipal Planning Council in their April 9th, 2025 meeting, and by a unanimous vote of a united Chamorro Land Trust Commission in a duly noticed meeting on June 19th, 2025, supported the effort and the bill before us today. We all must be united in our efforts to help our northernmost village. This is another important step toward a new police station in Jigo. We all must be a part of the solution to build a law enforcement facility in that village that meets or exceeds current policing and safety standards. We all can expect that a new police precinct will facilitate exceptional police work. This transfer more than accounts for future policing and community needs through forward-thinking policy like Bill 51-38. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the time, and I look forward to the discussion here this morning.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, 51-38 COR, are there any senators wishing to speak on the bill? Gentlelady from Barrigada, ma'am, you are recognized.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So in my research of this bill, of course, I support the need of the Guam Police Department to have its precinct up there. There's no doubt about that. But the question for me is the land issue. And so in my research, GPD has within their control 3.5 acres in that area. So according to Public Law 3436, which is still in effect, that notwithstanding, so basically they were provided the administrative jurisdiction of 3.5 acre portion of lot 7054 R5 in the municipality of Jigo for a police facility to include but not limited a precinct headquarters, equipment and evidence storage facility and related police facilities. And so if you look at the lot size 7054-R5, in this public law, I think it underestimated the acreage. According to the current maps, it's a much larger property. It's 12.7 acres. And so what this bill is aiming to do is to take land out of the Chamorro Land Trust, 2 acres of Chamorro Land Trust properties, out of their holdings, and to transfer it to Guam Police Department, who already has 3.5 acres in that area. I went back to the minutes. And according to what was stated, they've had this in their possession, but has not moved forward with any. So initially, they wanted to create an evidence center, but they haven't moved forward with that. But again, I believe in the testimony that evidence center was 10,000 square feet. So this 3.5 acres is large enough to hold not only the evidence center, but also the police facility. In looking at the map, I know one of the possible considerations was abutting the road. But again, the law states a portion of the 3.5 acres, a portion of that lot, 3.5 acres of that lot will be used by the Guam Police Department. So there's still an opportunity to place this precinct along the road. So they do have property already that they can use. And so I think that, according to the testimony provided by the police chief, he didn't mention anything about this property. He just mentioned about the 7054R1 and 7054-1 and 4, not the R5. I think it's important to go back and take a look, maybe have this conversation with the Chamorro Land Trust. In fact, in looking and listening back to the minutes, there wasn't much discussion about this. There wasn't, the police department wasn't present to discuss this information. And I think, considering there's a settlement agreement that this is a land restoration program, to have to transfer lands out of the Chamorro Land Trust at this time, I think is not a wise policy, because we still have thousands of beneficiaries that are waiting for their leases. When in fact GPD has the space, they have the land available to them. And so at this time, I think this bill is not needed for the needs of the police department, because they do have 3.5 acres, more than what was asked for in this bill, in that vicinity. Yeah, and in fact, there is a larger portion there. So, yeah, that's my statement for now. Situz Masi.
Thank you, Senator. On the bill. On the bill. Any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? Gentlelady from Doña, you're recognized.
Again, this is one of those bills. Do we object to GPD putting a police headquarters precinct in Jigo? Absolutely not. We in fact discussed this with them back in the 34th Guam Legislature. They said they were working with GURA, and they continue to say they're working with GURA to build these precincts or headquarters, and that they needed another piece of property because they wanted it for evidence storage. So the previous speaker is correct. They do own 3.5 acres of 7054-R5. And they ensured that when that was given to GPD, that they gave CLTC the same amount that was taken out of their inventory from the Department of Land Management. So in this area, they have the bus transfer station, the GPD reserved land, and the CLTC land. That I also looked at the minutes and did not see any discussion on this land or of any of their previous plans to use this property while they are building the subdivision in adjacent areas. So I'm not sure why that was not discussed by the CLTC. I think they're sending in testimony that they support this. They support this removal of land from their inventory without any compensation or putting land back in to their inventory. In fact, they didn't even discuss that CLTC is supposed to be designing livable subdivisions, and they have the authority to license property for public purposes like this. When they will build a subdivision and they need police precincts in it, that's what they should be doing, licensing property in that subdivision for the police precinct or the schools or whatever is necessary to build sustainable, livable communities that are going to thrive. But that's not what's done in this bill. It's really just a take the land out of the CLTC and give it to GPD, who has, when the CLTC land was distributed, all the agencies came in and reserved land. I think GPD still has land that's not been used yet. One of it's in Dedido, or maybe that was transferred. I'm not sure. But so does the government of Guam. And so again, I support the people of Jigo. They should have a police precinct. And I support GPD that if they can get it done, then they should get it done. That other property's been sitting for many years now. But just this notion that we're going to just use the legislature to continue to take land out of the trust is really a violation of the trust. There's no other way to say it. There's no compensation. There's no other land that we're putting back there. It's not even the CLTC who wants the license of this property for these purposes. It's the legislature going in and removing from the trust. And again, I think that this is our continuing to do this decreases the inventory for CLTC to build homes as its mission, and it's our mission to find property for GPD, not on the backs of those who've been waiting for years, decades, to have a piece to build a home because of the land that was taken from them, as a remedy, as the legislature's recognition that the U.S. did not compensate them, but we are going to take care of them, unless we are reversing this policy. So, again, this is just my concern. Is this removal of land from the trust as if it's the land bank for the government of Guam? The government of Guam has land. GURA is able to get land for these types of purposes, and that's what the police chief testified to. He just didn't want to wait for that. And I don't want the people of GIGO to wait, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this bill. I support the intent, but I don't support this intent and this continuation of to take care of the rest of the government or any other industries in Guam or any other people. We're going to take from the beneficiaries of the land trust. That is my objection. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, are there any senators wishing to speak on the bill? No other senators wishing to speak on the bill. Gentleman from Ipan, you recognize.
Test. Sidoswasi, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to rise and speak on the bill. Like the retiring speaker, I support the intent of the bill. I attended the public hearing, and my line of questioning was basically about how we can get increased police presence in the northernmost village of GIGO while we wait for the construction of a new police precinct. And I actually did ask Chief Ignacio about the land adjacent to the evidence building because, I don't know, it just kind of seemed like common sense to put the police precinct, adjacent to the evidence building. And the chief had said that there were a significant number of acres left. So while I support the intent of the bill, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to vote on it yet. But one thing is for sure, I definitely support the intent of the commission. And I think it's interesting that we're in here in this session. And we talked about a bill where we're trying to turn a place where people are living into a quarry so that we can generate revenue, allegedly for the beneficiaries of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. And then we get a bill like this, which just seeks to take from the Chamorro Land Trust inventory. And it's frustrating, there was a public hearing that we had, and we had the acting administrator of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, Mr. Joey Cruz, and he was asked how many residential leases have been issued by the CLTC over the last, I think the question was from my colleague from Talafofo, over the last 4 years, and the number was something like 2 or 3 residential leases. And a follow-up question was asked, how about in the last 10 years? And the answer given was not much more than that. So it's very frustrating to stand up here and to defend and argue the ideals of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. These commissioners, it's very clear the mandates that they have to follow as commissioners. If you look it up on the CLTC website, there's actually a code and, different tenets of what it's supposed to mean to be a Chamorro Land Trust commissioner. That's why it's very important for us as senators to really examine a lot of these nominees who make their way through the people's house, because we have, sometimes I wonder what my colleagues in here are thinking, but I'm doing the same thing for the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, because I'm not even sure these commissioners understand the intent and the ideals of what the Chamorro Land Trust Commission is supposed to represent, based on a lot of the knucklehead decisions that they're making very recently, to include, supporting this bill when there's already government land to construct a police precinct in the village of Jigo. Making decisions like supporting the return of land that was duly sold to the government of Guam back to one of the wealthiest families. I swear, I don't know what they're doing over there at the commission, but again, to just be one of a handful of voices here in this session hall that rises to speak in support of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, when so many of our colleagues seem very hell-bent on perverting and flipping on its head what the Chamorro Land Trust Commission is supposed to be about. And it's very much like the retiring speaker, the gentlelady from Jotnia, said. We're acting like the Chamorro Land Trust Commission is our land bank. Our land bank for the government of Guam, our land bank for the construction companies, our land bank for the wealthiest families on this island. And while we've only issued a handful of residential leases over the last several years, this legislature and other legislatures before it continue to entertain bills, proposals that move everybody else on Guam to the head of the line, ahead of the beneficiaries that the Chamorro Land Trust Commission is supposed to help, is supposed to put out on these lots. And that's just what it is. I mean, it's very difficult to stand up and defend what the Chamorro Land Trust Commission is supposed to be when we are basically surrounded by people who, and even commissioners who don't appear to understand that themselves. So it's very frustrating, Mr. Speaker, and I just wanted to rise and provide these comments, not necessarily on the bill. Again, I got family up in Jigo, right? We need more police presence, not just in Jigo, but all across the island. But again, to stand up and defend what the commission is supposed to be, because it's supposed to be the silver bullet. It's supposed to be the cure-all for the issues that we're facing today. The number one issue that our people are facing, why so many of them are leaving our island, is because they simply can't afford to live here. And the Chamorro Land Trust Commission is supposed to address that if we support it in the right ways, if we as policymakers support forcing the hand of this administration or any administration, forcing the hand of the CLTC to put more beneficiaries, more residents of Guam onto these lots with the infrastructure. And we've done our share over the last couple of years, appropriating $9 million to the CLTC, which unfortunately there was an attempt to take that money from the CLTC and give it over to somewhere else. And those are just kind of the things that we're talking about. But the people of Guam who are living in substandard homes, the thousands of people who applied decades ago for a piece of property under what was supposed to be a program, land restoration, that addresses, one of the most unjust things that have been done to our people, which is the taking of our land, the taking of our livelihood. And that's why the Chamorro Land Trust Commission exists. So for just some of my colleagues and hearing how they talk about the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, just do the research, go read the laws, read the website, talk to people who are...
As per your own words, get back on track, be germane to the bill. You yourself said you were going off track.
I didn't say that, Mr.
Yes, you did,
Speaker.
sir. Thank you very much.
I'm
Go back
talking
on
about the Chamorro Land Trust Commission.
on the bill. Thank
The
you very
bill
much.
relates to the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, and what I'm talking about, or what the bill does, is all relevant and germane. My dear people of Guam, you see it. I'm talking about the CLTC. The bill's relevant with the CLTC, and again, I just don't understand this this need to, let the people's voices speak in the people's house, Mr. Speaker. Sijus Masi.
I will allow latitude, but in your own words, you said it yourself. I just wanted you to bring you back to. All right? Thank you very much. On the bill, On the bill. Any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? No other senators wishing to speak on the bill. Senator Gumatauta, you can close.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my colleagues for the discussions today on Bill 51-38. 32 years ago, former Guam Governor Joseph Addis signed into public law 22-18, reserving government of Guam real property for future use by public agencies, including GPD. Again, for future use by the three branches of government. That law in 1993 set the groundwork for lot number 7054-4, a 3.5-acre lot in Jigo to be set aside for a future police station. In that time, there was an alteration, Mr. Speaker, to public policy that happened. 3 decades pass with the land unused, perhaps almost forgotten until 2025. GPD desires to identify and secure public property for an important public purpose. Mr. Speaker, the important public purpose is to serve and protect the public safety needs of the estimated 22,000 residents of Jigo, and combined with the 48,000 residents of Dedido, supporting nearly half of Guam's total population of 168,000 people. Bill 51 represents this 38th Guam Legislature's commitment to protecting life and property through the investment of additional resources in our public safety and law enforcement organizations. Again, I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the time, and I look forward to my colleagues' support of this particular bill. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move to place Bill number 51-38 COR as amended by the Committee on Land, Environment, Housing, Agriculture, Parks, and Infrastructure, and further amended by the Committee on Rules to the voting file.
On the motion to place Bill number 51-38 COR as amended by the committee and further amended by the Committee on Rules to the third reading, are there any objections? There is an objection. Okay. All those in favor of moving Bill 51-38 COR to the third reading, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very
Speaker.
much. Colleagues, it is about 3 minutes to 12. They're going to need at least a couple hours to be able to reset some of our systems as well as our the internet. So we'll recess for lunch and be back at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Okay, legislature's in recess.